Everybody, welcome in Fantasy Alarm live stream. I'm Howard Bender. With me here, of course, Craig Mish. We got lots to talk about here today, guys. Uh, you can tell by the title that Craig and I are, we're pretty excited about the youth movement going on in Major League Baseball here. Craig, I think we got to start it off right now with Juan Soto. Obviously, his call up was huge. The amount
Who?
of just some dude. The amount of fab money that went out for him was insane. Like to the point, and get this, I don't even know if you know this, but in one league that we're, oh yeah, you're in that league, the host league on Sirius XM, Ray Flowers, of all people, over a $400 bid
Yeah.
on
hmm
on the rookie. Now I'm in FSTA. He went for over $400
Yep.
to the guys from Baseball HQ. In any league that I did that I looked for him in, with the exception of NL only labor, which I took with 90% of my budget, I missed him because the bids were enormous. And then, of course, yesterday, what does he do? He goes yard opposite field, his first at bat, the first pitch he saw, and then he ended up with another base hit later on in the night. So Juan Soto, baby, crazy.
Yeah. It's kind of it's really, to me, this is one of the most interesting dynamics about what we do because as far as Soto is concerned, I was not aware of this player until the offseason when the Marlins were trying to acquire either Victor Robles or him for JT Realmuto, which still, by the way, goes on with the Marlins and Nationals in those discussions. So the player that I had heard that the Nationals didn't want to trade was Robles. And then Soto's name came up. And I got to be honest with you, Howard, I had no idea who he was. This is in December. So as I start digging and looking and seeing him, kind of low on the prospect lists, started finding a little bit more about him. And to that point, I still was not told whether or not the Nationals had him completely off their trade list, which it turns out that they did. So, I do the show with Jim Bowden, and Jim is very high on him and heard a lot of really good things about him. He had him much higher than a lot of people had. I'm sure you've heard that on your show several times. So have I. So in March, I end up going to West Palm Beach where the Nationals train and shooting video and watching a game that he's playing in. He ends up hitting a home run at the game that he's in. And, that's a good time for like fantasy scouting because you get scouts of other Major League Baseball teams. There were scouts from Tampa Bay, scouts from the Mariners. And so they'll just talk to you and you can, and they were all sold on this kid being a very highly touted prospect. So why do I tell this story? Well, for most people who are watching the live stream, Howard, they're probably like, well, you must have him then, like you must have him on all of your teams. And Howard, I got 5 teams. I didn't get him in one league.
Not
And
one. What kind of bids
not
did you
one.
throw down?
200, 200, 170, 240. And it's not that I didn't want him, but I did spend some fab budget early on in the season, which precluded me from getting him. I don't have any regrets. I'm doing well. I would love to have him. But the question that you have to really ask yourself at this point is it safe to wait on any player that you have high regard for in fantasy anymore? And the answer is really no. If you really think that a player in your mind is going to be a superstar or a great player, a great contributor, you have to draft him or stash him and have him on your bench because these situations may end up coming up more often now. Young players are coming up at a crazy rate and they're hitting at a crazy rate. So I don't know what Soto's going to be for the rest of the season, but it is a real lesson to be learned that if you personally are very high or about a player, you have to strike early and let that guy sit on your bench and really hope for the best because I could never have predicted that Soto was going to come up. At 4 o'clock on Saturday, Howie Kendrick got hurt. He was carted off the field. I send out a tweet. I mean, I don't think Soto's going to come up, but you may want to think about that. I was
Right.
like, I was like, no, it can't be. I didn't think it could be either, but at least I wanted to create the awareness of the situation during the day. 11:30 Saturday night, he ends up coming up, and here we are. I'm in no first come first served leagues. I had no opportunity to get him. I didn't think of adding him the week before, And in all the leagues I play in, he was unowned except for the league that you and I are in. Crazily enough, in the NL only league, somebody had grabbed him the week before, and here we are.
Which was definitely the smart play. And obviously, yeah, if you're looking at like a guy like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who eventually will be up, or we kind of feel like he'll be up at some point now, especially when you see what's been going on. Before we get to some of the names that we want to talk about here, and Stephen Feely, who just chimed in on Facebook, wants to know about Tyler O'Neill. Keith Giordano on Facebook also just asked about Tyler O'Neill as well. So we'll get to him in a second here, but let's talk about aggressiveness here. And it's definitely a situational thing, or is it a situational thing? Because the last time you and I talked about this, we talked about the fact that if you're at the bottom end of your standings and you're playing with a fab budget, or you're playing with, the ability to get certain guys, like that's the problem. FSTA, labor, tout, you can't grab any of these guys until they get called up. But in a lot of
tout you can, yeah, tout you can.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, then maybe I just looked for him and he was already taken, or whatever the case may be. But I'm in a couple of leagues where you're not allowed to do that. FSTA
sure.
and labor,
being
two of them. So the question is how aggressive are you? Like, if you've always stood by the fact that if you're losing out, in your standings and you're not doing well, you need to shake things up. You need to be aggressive. What are you waiting for? Just make the move and then see what happens. Now, I was in an interesting situation in NL Labor. Oh, where am I echoing here now? Jeez, sometimes the stuff.
Maybe your phone's on.
No, it's not my phone. It's not coming through there. Oh, it's coming through my headset, and it was coming from our producer, John and Pemba. What are you doing, man? You drive me insane. All right. Anyway, so let's talk about the aggressiveness here, because in my situation in NL Labor, it was kind of interesting. Now I'm in first place by like an average of 20 points a day. Like,
yeah, you're kicking ass.
Yeah, I'm crushing it. I think my lead today is like 17 or 18. It's like the lowest it's been. But I mean, I just got back Josh Harrison off the DL. I just got back Dansby Swanson off the DL. And then I made the move because my pitching's rock solid there. Like Nola, Corbin, Scherzer are my top three studs. Right off the bat there, and I've complemented them with a couple of middle-of-the-road guys and then some really high-end, high strikeout middle relievers. So I've really built my pitching well in that league. Now, I was sliding in at-bats for offense, and I needed to have that influx. So I was like, all right, listen, there is no Vlad Guerrero Jr. here. Sure, there are going to be other names out there. Case in point, things like players like Tyler O'Neill, players like Austin Meadows, who we'll talk about here today as well. But the question was do I go all in on Soto here as the first place team, or do I play it a little closer to the vest here and maybe not do that and kind of just fish around for some other guys? So I went all in, like 90% of my budget, dude. And I mean, I just barely got him by like $4 in the bid. So if you're at that point, if you're in that kind of a situation, Craig, where you're sitting there at the top of your standings and you're looking to solidify things, do you make that move as well, knowing that your team is doing well enough that if you needed to trade this guy later on down the road, you could do that?
Yeah, I mean, I could look at it both ways. The first way that I would look at it is if I was in your spot, I may not do that because I'm already up so big. And if something does happen catastrophic to my team, I want to be able to have the room to do it. But there's also something to be said for two different things. Number one, you step on the throat when you have the chance, and that's really what you're doing here. And I guarantee you all the other owners are in the league are like, who got him? Who got him? Bender? What? He's already in first place. He's already up 20. Does he really need him? Like, that's what you want them to say, and that's what you want them to be frustrated with. The other part of this, too, is that I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be great. I don't know when he's going to get called up. Probably next month. So you're getting 30 extra days of Soto and 30 extra stats of Soto. So in the end, Guerrero may be the better player, but the better player for this season in a redraft league is the guy that you have from May 22nd until September, not the guy that you have from June 22nd until September. And I think that, it's probably not something I would have done because I would have felt like, okay, I'm in first. If something happens, I want to make sure I save this money. Do I need saves? Is there going to be a closer that 8 to 10 saves could end up, really pushing me over the top in August and September? But I don't fault you for doing it. I mean, I tried very hard to get him, and it just didn't work out. But look, I drafted Francisco Mejia, and I had him as my second catcher in the league. He was batting 190. I cut him. I drafted Kyle Tucker, waiting for him to come up. I had some injuries. I cut him. I don't think anybody could have predicted Soto coming up this soon. And with all of the injuries that they had, Robles would have probably been up before Soto. It's just he got hurt. And I think this is a unique situation. But what I do think will change, and in talking to Jim about this, I think we see it a little bit differently, Jim Bowden. I think that, and Jim would know better being a general manager, but I think as a general manager, you have to be watching this and saying, okay, if this guy can do it and he's 19, who do we have that maybe can do it also? Because it's a copycat league. And if I have, for example, Brendan Rodgers sitting down, is he ready? Is he not? He wasn't hitting like Soto. He is young. Let's see, I think that we could get some more let's sees in the future, maybe because of this, and maybe because of Gleyber Torres, and maybe because of all these other young players who were coming up and hitting. And in fantasy, Howard, you said it. You throw that dart, you take that chance. You have nothing to lose with a lot of these players. You don't know how it's going to work out, but if you don't try, then you're failing. And by the way, in any fantasy league, and I'm telling everybody this on the live stream, and anybody who will listen, if you're playing in a fantasy league, okay, I said this on the show yesterday, the radio show, you're playing in a fantasy league that that there was a person in the league that didn't bid at all on Juan Soto. I mean, that's almost grounds for kicking the guy out of the league. like if you didn't even try for like $1, like $2, like just try, like that person is not paying attention, obviously. Yeah. I would scour every fantasy league and say, who didn't bid on him? You? Why? What was your excuse? Oh, I forgot. Oh, I mean, there's no excuse. You had to try.
You did. Listen, I'm with you. I tried for him in every league, and there was even one league that I did. Oh, I think I did this in the Great Fantasy Baseball Invitational, where I actually bid on the wrong Juan Soto.
On the Marlins. The Marlins have a Juan Soto.
The Marlins reliever guy. Yeah, I won him with my $280 bid, to which then I had to contact Justin Mason and be like, oops, wrong Juan Soto. He wouldn't have, the bid wouldn't have won anyway, so can I please have that money back?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that this has become so crazy that Matt Deutsch, the program director of SiriusXM, wants to do another draft right now, just so we can see where Juan Soto goes in the draft.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We do the Juan Soto
invitation. One game, 2 for 4. I mean, with a home run, dude, that's money in the bank right there.
I think we need to know where Juan Soto's going to go right now. Draft tomorrow.
Craig, it's going to be a very valuable tool. Very valuable tool for our listeners. No doubt.
Where's Juan Soto going? How much is he risen? How much is he fallen? Just Soto. And we'll stop. After Soto's taken, we'll stop.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's talk about some of the other players here, because we are getting a ton of questions from a lot of people. And let's talk, because Stephen Feely, Keith Giordano, they all want to know Tyler O'Neill. What's he worth? How do you view him? What do you have? A double and a home run last night. It was really nice option. We had him actually in the Fantasy Alarm example lineups yesterday. The question was, where are you getting your savings? And it came down to 2 players, Tyler O'Neill and Daniel Palka from the White Sox, and we went with O'Neill and Palka in different lineups here. O'Neill hit, Palka did not. Talk to me about your thoughts on Tyler O'Neill. Is this guy going to get the playing time that we need for him in fantasy?
Well, I'm not an expert writer like a lot of the people at FantasyAlarm.com, but if you remember, back in April, I did do a whole column on Tyler O'Neill back in April. So, again, this is in my wheelhouse of speaking to teams that I see and players that I see in spring training, which is such a valuable tool. I wish I could see every player every day. I just can't, so I hone in on those guys. I saw Tyler O'Neill in the spring. I haven't seen a bigger, more muscular player, maybe ever play in the big leagues. Maybe since like Kevin Mitchell. Like this guy was just a monster, but he got hurt, and that is, to me, the biggest risk with O'Neill is injury, because when players are this big and this muscular, those soft muscle tissues things do happen, and it happened to him in oblique in the spring. In terms of playing time, Howard, this is a very tough question to answer because Tommy Pham is going to play every day in center field as he should. Looks like I'll be wrong about him. I didn't think he would repeat what he did last year, and it looks like he will. Marcell Ozuna is going to play every single day in left field. So the question is, will they sit Dexter Fowler in right field for O'Neill? And I don't think that they will. But as long as O'Neill is hitting like he is, I think the short-term answer is Fowler will sit. And if O'Neill was to hit another home run today or get 2 more hits today, I can't have any conceivable answer for how Mike Matheny would bench him. So my guess is he'll play right field right now. If he goes in an 0 for 4, 0 for 5, maybe he sits. Then they give Ozuna another day off and left, and then put Fowler back in there. They have to get Fowler right, and I get that. They have too much money invested in him. But we're playing for right now. The Cardinals have always been a also play for right now type of team. So my guess is for the short term, O'Neill plays, and as long as he hits, he stays in the lineup. But he is 0 for 10 or 0 for 9 away from going back to being the 4th outfielder. Right now, though, DFS and daily lineups, you're playing him every day, in my opinion.
Do you like him over Padres outfielder Travis Jankowski, who's gotten the playing time again now that he's healthy and he's stealing bases?
Yeah, I drafted Jankowski in Tout Wars last year. That was a good pick, a waste of $11. I got my money back on that. He didn't play a game last year. I was a year behind on him. They're two completely different players. Jankowski's not going to hit any home runs, and he's going to steal bases. And O'Neill's not going to steal any bases, and he's going to hit a lot of home runs. So it just depends on the kind of player that you need in that situation, I think. In terms of straight playing time, you'd have to guess Jankowski right now would be guaranteed more playing time.
All right. Let's talk a couple of other youngster names here. Bunch of youngsters on Keith's team. Here we go. You got a pen and paper there, Craig? Get yourself a pen and paper. I want you to write down some names of youngsters here.
All right.
Before we get to this name here, O'Neill or Mac Williamson, who is expected to come back from the DL late this week.
Mac Williamson.
Mac Williamson over O'Neill.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Mac Williamson looked playing time. He looked great. I think he's back tonight, Mac Williamson.
Bochy had said that it was possible that he'd leave him out until the end of the 2-game series against the Astros, but it's possible that he does come back. I'm sitting on him, and
I can find out about that. Yeah.
All right, find out, because I'm sitting on him in labor, and I put him on my bench, moved him off the DL for there. But here you go. Get your ranking sheets ready here. Gleyber Torres, Vlad Jr., Ronald Acuna, Rafael Devers, Nomar Mazara, Nick Castellanos, Rougned Odor, and Matthew Olson.
I missed one. I got Torres, Vladimir, Acuna,
Devers,
Mazara, Nick Castellanos, Odor, and Olson.
There you go.
Okay, so the rest of the season, or is it keeper, or what?
Rank for keeper leagues.
Oh, for keeper leagues.
Right.
I'll still go Acuna 1.
Okay.
Vladimir 2.
Yep.
I will go with. Oh man, I'll go with Mazara 3.
There you go, lefty Texas slugger, baby.
Yeah, I hate Texas. I'm completely off on Texas, but that kid he's good. That'll be 3 for me. I'll go Devers 4. I'll go Olson 5, Castellanos 6, Torres 7, and Odor easily 8.
Okay, now the reason that Torres is so low on your sheet, because legitimately, the dude hits 2 home runs yesterday, and of course, I'm getting all of these questions from everybody being like, Gleyber Torres, should I drop so-and-so for him? Should I drop so-and-so for him? I'm like, the dude had a 2 home run game yesterday.
Right.
I get where your excitement is. So tell me why on that list, because, behind Castellanos, behind Mazara, behind Devers, even behind Matt Olson, these are players I dig, but talk to me about Gleyber Torres and why you got him down so low.
Yeah, because I mean, look, I was wrong about Francisco Lindor. I thought Lindor would be a great player, but I didn't see this kind of power that he had in the major leagues. He didn't have that in the minor leagues. So if simply put, Torres is going to show more power in the majors than minors, then I'll be wrong. But I'm just going off track record.
Okay.
Torres is what Starlin Castro was at that position. He's 280, 18 home runs, 50, 60 runs driven in, few steals. And all those other guys have a lot more power and a lot more potential. But if Torres all of a sudden is a different player now, then that's not something I could have predicted. Now, has he shown a ton of power outside of last night? He's shown a little bit. But I still think that the track record of those other players, I would have to go ahead of him. If they bat Torres at the top of the lineup all the time and he's scoring all those runs in front of those other guys, that's a different story. But I'll stick with that for now.
All right. So Keith also wants to know if Mazara's ground ball rate is a concern. It's over 50%. To me, that's not a concern. He's going to end up increasing his launch angle. He's going to end up hitting more line drives. He's just that kind of a hitter. I think everybody on Texas is struggling right now, so I'm not really that concerned about it. Are you concerned that...
What was it last year? Do you know? What was it last year?
No, I haven't looked. I can look that up, though, for you right now.
See, I mean, listen, I think that those are all, advanced metrics and analytics are really important for me. But I think for each individual player, you got to take a look at what they've done in the past and what they're doing now to make that comparison.
46.5% last year, 48.9 the year before that, to 56.1 right now.
All right, so it's a little bit higher, and maybe he's getting worse if that's what you want to believe. You're asking me. I don't think so. I think at the end of the year, it looks like it has, and I think he'll be fine. I think this year is going to be a tough year for Mazara. If you ask me in terms of just this year, I'd have him lower than almost all these players being on the Rangers. But you asked about keeper leagues. And by the way, who knows? If Texas decides to tear this whole thing down, Mazara could get moved.
Yeah, he could definitely get moved. Absolutely. Listen, I dig him. I don't think last year was a fluke for him. And I think that, if you look at because his fly ball rate is also, it's down to like 21% right now. Is at 36 last year. You'll get that kind of balance out there. I think also the Texas Heat definitely going to help with that as well. All right, let me go through a couple of other things here. What do we got? 6x6 Roto has an innings cap, already 40 innings ahead of the pace. Fan of trading Paxton and Lester for a bat like JD Martinez. Still has Alex Reyes to come off the DL. You ditch Paxton and Lester, you get a bat like JD. If you're already over the cap or projected over the cap, is that a panic move?
No, I could do that. Yeah, I mean, JD Martinez may end up with more home runs than anybody else from this point on. So, you're kind of selling Paxton at a high point. Lester is not what he was. I would say I would be okay with that.
All right, cool. Let me rip through Periscope here. We got a number of questions. Any thoughts on Brock Stewart?
Not particularly.
At Paul 87 Sox wants to know. You got nothing on Brock Stewart that interests you?
No. Let me do a quick Google to see.
Quick Google. Are you Googling them?
Yeah.
Right.
See if I've heard a lot about him. No, I have not heard a lot about this player. So, I could just go based on numbers here. No.
I mean, the thing for me about a guy like Brock Stewart, and it's any young pitcher that's sitting on the Dodgers team. Like whether he gets called up or not, the biggest issue that I've got is that Dave Roberts is coddling these guys, and he refuses to really let them pitch. And it's like 5 innings. I mean, I don't even know how many innings did Walker Buehler go last night. Did he go 5? Did he go 6?
I got to take a look, but yeah, you're right. But I'll tell you though, in the previous start though, Howard, against the Marlins, he let him ride a little bit. So.
Well, he went 6. He went 6 innings last time he was out. But
who's going 7 innings anymore?
Herman Marquez went 7 innings last night. Ooh, Walker Buehler actually he did go 7 innings. So that surprises me. I'm wondering.
I'm not worried about that.
Well, I'm wondering if it's a case by case basis here because a guy like Ross Stripling isn't going more than 5 or 6 innings.
No, but Ross Stripling was a reliever for a lot of the year too. So. But unfortunately, I don't know a lot about Brock Stewart, so I'll have to do my homework and research on him and get back at a later date.
All right, we can do that.
Or I can just fake it and say, "Wow, Brock Stewart, he's amazing. He's got a 3-point wobble."
Yeah, no,
I don't need to fake it anymore.
All right, Jonathan Scope or Brian Dozier rest of the season.
Oh, Dozier's been terrible, right? Dozier's been so good in the second half. I'm going with Dozier. Last year, was it 2 years ago that he hit 30 home runs from June on or something? I'm going to go Dozier.
Yeah, I like Dozier as well. I'm a big fan of Scope, though. My problem with Scope right now is the rest of the Baltimore lineup. Until I see the consistency a little bit more. Now they've been one of the hottest hitting teams over the past 2 weeks, and I totally dig that. And Machado's been hitting since day one. Scope just got back, but it's the consistency that we're going to see from guys like Trumbo and Chris Davis that we really need to hone in on there. Because if those guys are hitting well towards the middle to the bottom end of the lineup, then that first half of the lineup where you got Mancini and Adam Jones, I'll stay confident in those guys from a skill set standpoint. All right, Vladimir Guerrero, is he worth a bench stash in redraft points league?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, unless you absolutely need the bench spot that you don't have anybody in there, or you're dealing with like mass injuries, then yeah, I definitely think he's worth that. All right. I like this one. I already have Soto. Still stash Vladdy Jr.?
Yes.
Ooh. Yeah?
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. should be owned in 100% of fantasy leagues.
There you 100%.
Go. If you're in, I take it back. 8-team league, no.
8? Yes. Don't worry about it in 8
league. Do not worry. In a 10-team and on, you should be owned in every league right now. I mean, are you not seeing what's happening in baseball? Like, guys are coming up.
Right. All right. At Fantasy Nut 2017 wanted to know what we thought of Stripling. I'm not a fan. Are you a fan of Stripling at all?
I'm okay with him. I mean, he's pitched well. They're not scoring runs. It's going to be hard for him to win games. It's harder to win games when you're not pitching into the 7th, because then you're strictly relying on the bullpen in a lot of 2-2 games, 3-3 games. I added him in one league this past week once Rich Hill went on the 60-day, because I think that he'll get his opportunities. But you said it before. He's not going to pitch 9 innings or 8 innings in a game. It's never happening.
Okay. Last question here on Periscope. Patrick Corbin's velocity is down. Last several starts. Are we okay with him? Do we think that there's an injury possibility here? Where are you at with Corbin? You already like crapped on him when you and I were talking potential deal. So give me why you're crapping on Patrick Corbin.
Yeah, I feel like he overachieved in the first couple months, and maybe he was just throwing harder at the beginning of the season, having at the start, and then as the season goes on, maybe the velocity goes down. I don't know. I mean, I'm okay with him. He's fine. But he's just not somebody that I'm targeting right now. He's the kind of guy that if you have in your fantasy league, you give yourself a high five for being in on him and getting these 2 great months. There you go. And you keep riding him. But you're never going to get the fair value back in return that you would want. I don't think.
Not yet. Not at this time. Like, I mean, that's always the thing. And we talk about this on a regular basis. You don't sit there and trade a guy when he's down. Like, that's, I mean, especially if he was fantastic for the first part of April, and then you've noticed that the velocity tick is down a little bit right now. Now, I mean, if it's not publicized, like, I mean, maybe after like 2 starts where it was down, you could probably get away with it. But now that it's actually publicized and people are talking about it, you're not going to end up with that kind of action. All right, one more question here before we start talking a couple of more rookies. Paul Goldschmidt. Here we go. His road splits are he's slashing 265, 322, 518 on the road, 140, 321, 209 at home. Humidor or Humidor head games? Where are you at with Goldie right now?
Boy, great question. I don't know. Some people have pointed out to me that he has a very low hard hit rate also, and that to me is a metric that would be really concerning if indeed that is the case. Yeah, I think that you're not selling him for 20 cents on the dollar, but if somebody offers you a deal where they think he's going to turn it around and you can get something back in return that wasn't Goldschmidt at the beginning of the year, I think you got to consider it. I really, for me, when we get to the end of May, I'm making my changes on players and my adjustments. And I think that it's fair to say that for me, Goldschmidt probably has another 7 to 10 days. He doesn't turn it around. It's time to cut bait. Domingo Santana, same thing. He had a home run last night. Maybe this is the start of something new and you feel good about him. Matt Carpenter over the last few days has really turned it up. Maybe this is the start for him too. So these are things you have to pay attention to. Guys, all these guys are not going to slump. Some of them are going to turn it around. But if you're playing in a fantasy league and you're near the bottom and you have Buxton and you're just going to wait until August, you can't do that. You got to sell him, get something back, and let that guy in first have Buxton so you can at least crawl your way back to fourth or fifth.
Just get into some sort of respectability there. Couple of trades, actually, of Goldie. John and Pemba, our producer today, just traded Goldie for Hanley Ramirez and James Paxton. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how do you like that trade?
I think it's a 9 out of 10. I think it's fine to do.
Our mutual friend Jim also traded Goldie yesterday.
I know. I liked his deal, too.
I did, too. Goldie and Contreras for Rizzo and Gary Sanchez. I mean, to me, Goldie and Rizzo could just be a flat-out wash moving forward. And Rizzo could even actually surpass him if Goldie doesn't snap out of this. And then, you're talking about the power of Gary Sanchez over the power of Wilson Contreras.
I mean, think about this for a minute. What would be a good scenario? Let's not put Goldschmidt over the top anymore, but let's just paint a good scenario the rest of the season. If I said to you 19 and a half home runs the rest of the season for Goldschmidt, what would you say? 19 and a half.
Oh, the way he's playing right now, I mean.
Let's just say, let's give it to him. Let's give him 20, okay?
All right.
Right?
Okay.
Okay, so that gives him 25 home runs, right?
Right.
Let's say he drives in another 70 runs from now to the end of the season, right? That's 69 and a half runs. You'd probably say, okay, over on that, 70. That gives him 83 runs driven in. And would you say he'll bat 280? Sure. So that's 250. That's 24 home runs, 83 runs driven in. It's horrible for your first round pick.
Well, I mean, you got it. For your first round pick, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's
horrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah. So, and those are optimistic numbers probably from now to the end of the year too. And he's got a lot of track record there, but give me something, show me something that points to him not struggling for the whole year. The last 5 years, okay, yeah, I mean that's fair. But beyond that, is there a stat, a metric, analytic that says it's coming around, batted balls in play, something? Show me something.
I mean, you can look at that. You could say that he's got a 282 batting average on balls in play, and he is traditionally 340 or higher. So we can look at that. We can look at the fact that he's striking out almost 31% of the time right now. So if you think that you're going to see regression to the mean, well, then you're looking at definite improvement. The question is, though, is that going from 282 to 340, like how much of that is going? What's the reflection of that increase going to be in the counting stats? Like that's the problem here. And I mean, even if he stops striking out and hacking away as much as he's doing right there, I mean, where will it translate? It's definitely not a 30 home run season for him. It's definitely not a 30 home run season for him. And that right there is an automatic letdown. It's not 100 RBI. Like, I mean, yes, could he turn around and have one of those ridiculously insane months of June where he's just, where bam, he hits 12 home runs and knocks in 50 RBI? He is capable of doing that. And we still have June, July, August, and September in order for that to happen and to potentially right the ship for him. So the question really is that if he does have that month, well, then you're fine. If he doesn't have that month, you're totally screwed. So the question is where can you pick up in a trade for him? Because you're obviously, when you're selling Goldie right now, Jim's deal on Goldie I think was fantastic. The deal for that Hanley and Paxton for him is probably, in my opinion, like settling for like 85 cents on the dollar there.
Yeah, second half last year, Paul Goldschmidt 16 home runs, 53 runs driven in with a 278 batting average and only 5 steals. That's what he did last year in the second half. I'd like to point to that and say that's what he may do again.
He's done. He's finished.
I don't think he's done. I can't explain it, and I don't have a lot pointing positive to him. And if you drafted him in the first round of a 12-team league, you're not winning right now. So how do you just sit and be patient and say, "Oh, I'm going to wait it out. I'm in 9th out of 12, but I'm okay because I got Goldschmidt." Like, you may not be okay.
He'll turn it around, Craig. Come on, show a little faith.
Maybe.
Loud.
I don't know.
Jeez. All right, look at this. We got some more questions going on here. Look at that, rifling through questions. At Karadu wants to know your outlook on Sonny Gray and Nick Pivetta rest of the season, both coming off of really, really nice starts.
I probably like Pivetta more in the National League, and I like what I've seen there. The bullpen of the Philadelphia Phillies may be a strong point of that team. Sir Anthony Dominguez has done a good job since he's come up. They also have a Dubre Ramos, who Kapler's talked about as using the closer. They have Hector Neris. They have Tommy Hunter. And next week they'll have Pat Neshek. They've got a strong bullpen. They don't need Nick Pivetta to go 7 innings in games. You may end up getting wins if the Philadelphia Phillies offense puts 3 or 4 runs on the board and they hand it over to that bullpen. I think that's their plan. So, listen, there's nothing wrong with Gray. I mean, he did have a great start. He's been inconsistent even dating back to last year. But, there's something about Pivetta that seems to be clicking for me, and I like it.
Yeah, all the peripherals. You look at all his peripherals from last year. You were like, oh, this is definitely something to just kind of look at and investigate. And then you heard throughout the offseason, it was like all the Sabre guys were just, he was like amazing. So I do like what he's done. I've got him in a couple of leagues there. I made that move nice and early to do it. Listen, I mean, if you're just talking about just straight up Gray or Pivetta, I'll take Pivetta over him as well, even though I think, I'm a big fan of Sonny Gray. And I do think that things balance out for him and that ground ball rate picks back up even more. And he has fewer problems with the long ball, especially at home. So let's go. Oh, at Jay Mendwin wants to know Greg Bird projection. So Bird apparently, here's the funny thing, is that Bird supposedly is coming back. The Yankees could bring him back as early as this weekend, and they're talking about doing that. Now, the funny thing was that when they made that announcement on Sunday, immediately Tyler Austin went yard twice, Miguel Andujar went deep, Romine hit one out as well. So all the 3 guys whose roster spots could potentially be in jeopardy with the return of Greg Bird, all were like, hey, Cash, just so you know, we got power too. And we're healthy right now. So talk to me about Greg Bird. I loved Greg Bird. I invested everywhere in Greg Bird, and he is sitting on my DL in every league I'm in, save for the NL only league. But what do you think about him coming back?
Yeah, not a ton. I own him in a league, but the Yankees are playing very well. They have a lot of guys that have played in front of him now that have played well too. And I just can't see him playing in anything more than a platoon. And by the way, if he is back June 1st, Howard, I think there's 30 days in there with a lot of built days off to keep him healthy and keep him ready for the postseason run. I just can't be I can be optimistic, but if there are other players on my roster that I would need to cut to activate him, I'd be careful of that because Austin has done a good job. And it would be hard for me to envision, let's say, 300 plate appearances the rest of the way. I think they're going to want to keep him healthy. They saw what he did in the postseason last year. I think they'd like him to be active in the postseason. They'll be careful with him.
Yeah, I definitely think they'll be careful with him. You know what? I'm bullish on him in daily leagues. If you can play, you can move him in and out of your lineup, and you've got good corner infield help there. Then I'm definitely bullish on him. Weekly leagues like this Sirius XM stupid host league that you and I are in, I can't. Stop smirking, dude. Stop smirking. Like weekly leagues with certain players, and we've been through this. We went through this with Ohtani in our last discussion. Just trash in weekly leagues. Hot, steaming.
Yeah, I have Bird in that league. So I'm waiting to see what's going to happen. But I'm not like overly optimistic about it. Like if you said to me, who would you rather have rest of the season, Aguilar or Bird? I'd say Aguilar for sure.
For sure?
Yeah, I
Really?
would. Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I
You
might
have
have to bust.
I,
I
I
might.
have.
I just might have to bust out my Greg Bird jersey for the next couple of live streams that we do together.
Listen, you could have had you could have had Aguilar in the NL League. You should have picked him up. You could have been your first baseman. You could have enjoyed that.
Why? When I've got what is it? G-Man Choi. Uh, he's the guy who holds
I was
Aguilar's
like,
jock when he's playing, and he actually gets like an at bat every like 9
I
games.
saw the transactions. I'm like, G-Man Choi, who picked him? Oh my!
What else am I gonna do? What else am I gonna do when I hear
I
that
know.
Will Myers isn't coming back until probably like 2026 now?
Yeah, he's never gonna play.
Because the
He's
dude's
never
made
gonna
of
play.
paper.
Yeah, he's
It's
never playing.
ridiculous.
Yeah, like the best is when Lenny Melnick and I do the shows. He's like, "Well, Myers is gonna be back soon." I'm like, "He's never coming back. That's it." Okay, this is every year with Will Myers. He's had one great year, Will Myers, and it was a fantastic year. But every other year he's been hurt, and I feel bad for him. I mean, I don't want to see that, but it's just the reality of what it is, man. Like he's just, he just keeps having these issues. Like it's not favorable for him. And if San Diego is out of it, like no one's talking about him. I think the Padres are going to trade Will Myers, man. Like I do. Like
And that's the thing. He's already been traded a bunch of times. He's already gone from organization to organization. I remember when he got drafted by the Royals, and he was going to be the be all end all for Kansas City, and they ended up dealing him away as they made their move. And I don't, when you sit in there and you look at guys, I'll tell you what. Here, when you see a guy move around a couple of different places, because we did see it with Anthony Rizzo. Okay, but when the GM who once had him or drafted him or whatever reacquires him, that's when you pay attention to one of those guys, because that means they still believe in something. I mean, Kansas City, wouldn't you wanna, if you're rebuilding right now, wouldn't you want to try and acquire Will Myers again if you actually believed in his talent? And the fact that they aren't just tells me.
You and I both know
Such a
what
bad
team
call.
Will Myers is going to be on for the pennant run. It's 100%. Lock it in. He'll play first base every day. It's a done deal. They need the offense.
Where's he
They
going?
need the youth. Oh, it's a done deal.
Where's he going?
The Mets. 100%.
Come on.
You know it. You know this is going to happen. In your
Really?
heart right now, think about it. You know it's happening. They have no first baseman. Dominic Smith they put in the outfield. Padres are out of it. Who will take on his contract? Will Myers is a bet, man. It's a match made in heaven. Perfect.
Listen, you know what? I would take it though. I would totally take it. Like at least that it was.
Take it as a Mets fan. You should.
I'm not a Mets fan. What the hell's wrong with you, dude?
I mean, as a Yankees, if you were a Mets fan, I'm sorry, as a Mets fan.
Okay, I was like, you better watch your tone with me, buddy. You better watch it, Mish.
As a Mets fan, you should absolutely want that to happen. Adrian Gonzalez is cooked. You put Myers at first with Cespedes. It changes the lineup. Like, that's it. And the Padres have to look at it and go, we have Hosmer at first. We're paying him $1 billion. We got Margot. We got Jankowski. We got Franchi. We got Perella. We got Fran Mill, the homer machine. I mean,
come on. Dude, Fran Mill. Did you watch Fran Mill yesterday? Was it yesterday or the day before? Did you see my tweet?
I did.
It literally looked like David Ortiz was playing right field for the Padres.
But he hit a home run.
Yeah, he had to. He had to make up for the fact that he let that ball get behind him. I mean, that was embarrassing.
He's probably not. But again, they have enough. They don't need Will Myers. They don't need him.
No, I know they don't need Will Myers. Listen, Padres aren't going anywhere though.
Nowhere.
Not going anywhere.
No, but in the future they'll be very good. They have young players there. I say Will Myers is a Met August 1st.
I'll write that down. I can't take that. I can't say whether or not I take that action, but I can definitely get down with that. I mean, listen, again, he'll play regularly and he'll hit in the meat of the order, and that's all I need in order to get the hell out of
just play, guy, play. That's all you want. Just play. It is. Like that, he this year. I mean, look, Rich Hill's been frustrating, but for where you took him and all that. But Will Myers is really frustrating. Like that one is really like an irreplaceable type player that you took in every league. Like Rich Hill, you went on the waiver wire and you got a pitcher, and you got to pitch him 2 times a week. But Will Myers, you're not going to the waiver wire and finding that.
No, well, I mean, listen, Rich Hill, I know well enough never to touch. And people who sit there, like any Rich Hill truthers out there, I mean, if you can't understand that you just missed, you're now missing another month with this jackass. I mean, this is like the worst. Oh, did they say 2 months? I heard it was at least 4 weeks.
I thought they put him on the 60-day.
Did they put him on the 60-day?
I gotta check that.
I don't know if they put him on the 60-day, but bottom line is that I mean, Rich Hill is just, I mean, that's a disaster. And if you didn't understand and know that was a disaster walking into this season, then you're not doing your homework. And you're just, all you're doing is you're looking at stats and you're like, oh well, when he pitches, he's been fantastic. Yeah, when he pitches. How many starts are you going to get out of this clown?
So we've established that anybody who didn't bid on Juan Soto and anyone who drafted Rich Hill should be kicked out of fantasy.
Yes. Okay. We should make a list here.
We got 2.
I guarantee you that if we do this every live stream, we just come up with one. Every live stream, we can have 50 reasons to kick your friends out of your fantasy league.
There you go. Those are a solid 2 so far.
Those are definitely a solid 2. I'm gonna write those down. We're gonna do a book. We're gonna put it on Kindle. We're gonna sell it for $1.99.
We'll be bestsellers. We'll do a tour, radio tour on Sirius XM.
Right, there you go. Maybe we'll be even better than the Fantasy Black Book.
I don't know. No, that's impossible. Pizza P is the man.
All right, got another question here from Keith Giordano. Would you rather? Ooh, Craig, you want to play a little Would You Rather?
Sure. I got a pen, too.
All right. Would you rather have to depend on Julio Teheran, active the rest of the season, or have to watch every single Marlins game live for the rest of the season?
Who's asking that question?
That's Keith Giordano. He's up here in Northern California, buddy. Sorry. He's not down there with you in Miami.
I got to watch every game anyway of the Marlins. I cover them, so it doesn't really make a difference. And by the way, Teheran pitched against the Marlins Sunday, and Lewis Brinson hit a grand slam off Julio Teheran.
Dude,
just for the record.
Teheran is trash.
He's not trash. I own him in a lot of places. He had a bad game, but I mean that was a bad game. That was really bad.
Did he have a bad game, or did he maybe did the sun shine on a dog's ass at least once?
He's been good so far.
He had a good couple of games. He had a good string of games.
He's had a really good since the beginning of the year. He's been fine.
All right, let me go to Teheran's game log.
Pick it up.
Got to make sure I say the name properly so I don't get corrected. I love these live streams, man. These crack me up sometimes. All right,
who am I doing one tomorrow, by the way? Did you tell people that yet? Or no?
Oh, yeah. Guess what, people? We're doing a special live stream. Just 30-minute little bonus live stream tomorrow. Same time, noon Eastern, so you can chime in for that one. All right, let's see. Teheran game log. Let's see. He opened up the season with 5 2/3 and 4 earned runs. Then 2 1/3 with 5 earned runs. Then he went on a 1-2-3 game streak of quality starts, at least 6 innings at least, no more than 2 earned runs in any of those. Then he got yanked early after giving up 3 earned runs in 3 innings to the Phillies. Had a very high pitch count over there. Then he had 2 more quality starts there against the Mets and against the Rays. Ooh.
Up and coming teams right there.
Oh, stop, dude. Just stop. And then he got shit on pooped on. Sorry for everybody with the little baby ears out there. He got pooped on by the Cubs, and then he got decimated by your weak Miami Marlins here. So we're about halfway here, right? We're going to get halvesies. So half good starts, half lousy starts.
He's not a great pitcher, but in a 12-team league, if you have him as your number 4, you're fine. If an NL only, if you have him as your number 3, you're fine, and that's all he is, and he is no more than that.
Yeah, you keep saying number 3 and number 4, but you know what? He's just the number 2, and you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Poop! It's poop again! And it's
Who would
Julio
you
Teheran.
rather have, Vincent Velasquez or Julio Teheran?
If I had to pick one over the other, then I would take Teheran.
Okay.
I mean, you're putting him up against Vince Velasquez, the guy.
They're the
like,
same guy. They're the same
they're
guy.
not the same
Sometimes
guy.
good, sometimes bad. You don't know. You have no idea.
No.
Okay,
Well, I mean, listen,
Tyler
Velasquez
Chatwood
more down.
or Julio Teheran?
Oh, I'll take Tyler Chatwood, thank you. I'll put up with the walks. That's fine, dude. That's fine. But you know what? He's still a better pitcher than Teheran. Tehran's
He's on the
garbage,
Cubs.
dude. Tehran's garbage. Oh, wait. Did I just hear the sentence, Lewis Brinson is a superstar? Rule number 23. If you say that, you are kicked out of the league.
Definitely fair. Lewis Brinson is a superstar. Come on, man.
Oh, see, now people want to add to these reasons to kick your buddy out of your league here. Mike Zimmer says drafting Chris Archer should qualify as well.
No, come on. He was good up until this point. That's terrible.
He was good up until this point. Oh, I got to have more. Guys, definitely send them in. Tweet at RotoBuzzGuy, at Craig Mish. We want to know rules to make in order to reasons to kick your buddy out of your fantasy league.
Right, but it has to be like things of absolute stupidity, you know.
Like what?
Well, Chris,
like telling me that not to forget about Neil Walker with his over 500 OBP in his last 38 plate appearances. Cherry pick.
No, I have to like drafting Jose Bautista. You know, like I have to come up with things that you just know, or using all your fab budget on Jose Bautista, like things that you just really, like, you just knew were gonna happen, but you did it anyway. That's the way that I'm going with it.
Oh, so like, you know, my lifetime of drafting Cameron Maybin means that I should have my fantasy card pulled.
Yeah, but you got it back now, though. I mean, I'll tell you what, anybody who's in 12 fantasy leagues deserves to be kicked out of all of them. that's my, seriously, if you accept 12 fantasy invitation leagues, you deserve to be out.
I don't know what I was thinking. I honestly have no clue what I was thinking.
I honestly don't know.
I don't think I was thinking.
I don't know how you're doing this. Like, I cannot even imagine what your Sunday is like. Like, do you even care about some of these leagues? Like, how?
No. I mean, I care about them all. I mean, here you go. Listen, I'll break this down for you, man. You ready for this one here? Just to show you the work that it takes to go in 12 leagues. You ready? In Tout Wars right now, I am in 4th place. In NL Labor, I'm in 1st. In FSTA, out of 13 teams, I am currently 12th. SiriusXM Dynasty, I am currently 6th out of 14. Host League 1, I am in 4th. Host League 2, I am in 5th. Your NL, I know, right? That's the problem. Your NL only league, I am currently 10th out of 11th, and that's no good. Great Fantasy Baseball Invitational, I am 10th place in that league there. In the Bay Area Roto Fantasy League, I am currently in 4th. And then the Lisa Ann Does Fantasy League, I am in 7th.
That's not 12, is it?
No. The other ones are just minor leagues that don't really matter.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, I'm in the top 5 in the remaining leagues. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 leagues that are considered industry leagues.
Right.
And then the other two leagues, the other 2 leagues, I think I'm in 3rd in one and 4th in the other.
That's insane, man. Just insane.
What's more insane, me in 12 fantasy baseball leagues or Mike Dempsey having done 104 MFL 10s for football already?
Mike Dempsey having done 104 MFL 10s. Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, yep, that's above. Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's wrap this thing up here.
Okay.
Let's talk some more rookies, some more youngsters. Anybody coming up on the horizon who you're saying just kind of keep an eye on. You don't necessarily know exactly when they're coming up, but they're quality enough that you're interested.
Yep, I got two guys. We'll talk about Garrett Hampson, second baseman on the Colorado Rockies. He leads the Pacific Coast League in stolen bases. He has more stolen bases than anybody in the major leagues. He's got 19. He's had a really good start to Double-A. He's in Triple-A right now. DJ LeMahieu's on the DL. He's going to be out another month. My guess is Hampson comes up next week. So I don't know what he'll be, but I think that they're going to give him a chance. They have Pat Valleca playing. Tom Young from Young Bat turned me on to him. His name has been mentioned before by other people. And I'd love to give credit to those people, but I don't know. But I've heard his name recently. He's somebody that should be added in some leagues right now because anybody at Coors at second base with stolen base potential. The only question would be what happens when LeMahieu comes back. I don't know. Diving into the Marlins, we're still waiting on Sandy Alcantara. I'm not really sure what's taking so long. I thought he'd be up by the end of the month. I'll still stick to that. So I'm going to say another week to 10 days, you'll see him. And then in June, they're going to have a player that's going to get called up around the Super 2 date. His name is Austin Dean, who has a chance to lead off for them. I thought Braxton Lee would end up being that guy, but Lee got hurt, and he hasn't been on the field in, I think, a month. So while I do like Lee, and I still think that he has a chance to play, he didn't make the most of his initial shot, I think, in the big leagues, or maybe he didn't even really get a full shot. But you have to ask yourself with the outfield of the Marlins, especially two players, Lewis Brinson in center field, how long are they going to let this go? I mean, will they let him bat 130 in the big leagues? If they do, then Dean would have nowhere to play. But if you make the assumption that if Brinson continues to struggle and he gets sent down, Dean could play center field. And then they would, actually need a right fielder potentially too, because, Maben eventually will get traded. So I think there'll be room for Austin Dean, who's in AAA, who has been their best minor league player so far. So those are two names, Hampson and Dean. And Dean will be a Super 2, and I think that Hampson could be up in the next week.
Fantastic. All right, final question here, and we'll close things out on this note, and that is, will Sir Anthony Dominguez take over as the Phillies closer? I mean, I think he's there right now, but the question is will Gabe Kapler leave him there, or is Gabe Kapler just going to resign himself to playing the matchups? Who pitched yesterday? Who pitched today? Because he's got Ramos, he's got Neris. Like you said, Neshek's coming back here. Does Dominguez stick or no?
Neris got the save last night. Jim Bowden loves Dominguez, and I do too. But at the same time, I think this still becomes a mix and match. I'm not investing heavily in it. I think that if Hector Neris saves 4 or 5 games in a row, he's going to remain the closer. And people may be yelling for Dominguez because Neris will come in a game. Maybe he'll pitch in and give up 2 hits, walk a guy, and get out of it. But, Dominguez is the closer in 2019. But I think for the rest of the season, if you said to me, give me an over-under on Dominguez's saves, I don't know that I would put it at 10. I just don't know. Now, Jim feels very differently about this. He thinks that he's going to be a dominant closer in the second half of the season. It could end up happening that way. I wouldn't doubt it. But as long as Neris is on the team and he's still going to get opportunities, there's probably 30 save opportunities the rest of the way for Philadelphia, maybe. And there could be less too. So I don't know. Love the skill set. I did try to add him in a couple of leagues, but I could see Kapler playing this thing all year long. So I'm going to just say a small investment, yes, but I'd rather have Neris right now.
You like Dominguez over Minter in Atlanta?
Yes, Minter did not look good in his 1 save chance.
Yeah, and he's had some command issues.
No,
and getting it up the whip hole a little bit there too.
Yeah, just like on Fantasy Alarm yesterday, I saw that. We were giving out free fantasy advice.
Yes, we have since corrected that error in the tweets. And if you guys don't know about it, well then good. Then we nipped it in the bud. That's gonna do exactly. That's gonna do it for the Fantasy Alarm live stream, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, special live stream tomorrow noon, 30 minutes. Me and Craig. Everything that's going to go on tonight, we're going to talk about it tomorrow, so don't miss that. And then, of course, Thursday live stream, me and Brandon Marianne Lee, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then again, Friday, Craig Mish and I right here, noon Eastern. Stay tuned. Lots going on. Craig, any final thoughts?
No, just enjoy the games tonight. Most interesting one for me will be Cleveland and Chicago. Chatwood, I think, is it, and Bauer. I think that's that's an interesting matchup for me because I'm ready to kind of say that the guy who pitches better in that game is the one who will pitch the best the rest of the season. It's a show me game with those two pitchers tonight. I like it.
All right, give me some Tyler Chatwood, baby. Thanks very much for tuning in, everybody. This has been Howard Bender, Craig Mish, Fantasy Alarm, saying goodbye. Thanks so much.